A quiet airport in Washington state. The Cessna 182 waits on the tarmac, silent and dark. Colton Harris Moore breaks the lock on the hatch, pulls himself into the captain's chair. The dashboard is far more complex than the simulation. More buttons, more gauges, more opportunities for disaster. But he's ready for this instant. Studied YouTube clips of aviators firing up motors, examined stolen aviation handbooks by torchlight hidden in the forest. He understands the procedure. Power switch, fuel system, mixture full, throttle adjusted, magnetos both, ignition. The propeller begins turning, the motor fires, the aircraft awakens. This is his maiden voyage. He's never moved on taxiways. He's never performed takeoff. He's never executed landing, but he's practiced it countless repetitions in the simulation. He disengages the parking brake. The Cessna begins gliding forward. Excessive speed. He touches the brakes, calibrates the pressure. The aircraft moves toward the strip. No control tower, no authorization, no approval. He straightens with the center stripe, advances the throttle forward. The motor howls. The aircraft picks up velocity. 50 knots, 60, 70. He draws back on the control stick. The front elevates. The tires lift off pavement. Colton Harris Moore, high school runaway, no aviation license, hunted by law enforcement in 3 regions, is airborne. He turns eastward, rises to 5,000 feet, vanishes into the dark heavens. Behind him, the stolen aircraft's vacant space won't be discovered until daybreak. By then, he'll be 300 miles distant. This is initial aircraft. Over the following 2 years, he'll take 4 more, and he's going to become the most pursued teenager in America. Camano Island, Washington, 2006. 2 years before, a 15-year-old enters someone's residence, not for valuables, not for money, but to access a video game on their desktop. The residents are away vacationing. Colton entered 3 days earlier. He's not after possessions. He's after the computer. On the display, Microsoft Flight Simulator. He's been engaged for 16 consecutive hours. No eating breaks, no resting, just aviation. Liftoff, charting courses, touchdown, failure, retry again. Most teenagers use this game for entertainment. Colton is analyzing it like a crucial test he must ace. He's learned the control board. Every meter, every lever, every instrument. Elevation gauge, speed meter, climb indicator, direction, remaining gas. He understands what they represent. Not from formal classes, from endless practice. He destroys the digital aircraft, examines what failed, modifies, attempts again. And here's the crucial part. He's not simply gaming. He's taking flight guides from tiny airports, studying them by flashlight in the wilderness where he's been evading authorities, connecting the steps in the guides to the systems in the simulation, mastering the terminology. Mixture full for liftoff, carb heating on for touchdown, adjustment for ascent. Terms that signify nothing to average folks. Terms that will preserve him in an actual cockpit. He rehearses crisis scenarios. Motor breakdown, power malfunction, how to drift, how to locate a spot to emergency land without perishing. By the time the residents come back from their trip, Colton is nowhere. The residence is spotless. Nothing missing except some rations and information. Hundreds of hours of aviation study. No cost. Taken. Independently learned. Colton isn't mastering Flight Simulator because he adores aircraft. He's pursuing it because he's been tracked by authorities since he was 12 years old, and he just discovered something genius. Everyone's monitoring the streets. Nobody's monitoring the skies. What he accomplishes next will make him into a myth and a criminal with the FBI, Homeland Security, and half of America attempting his apprehension. Colton Harris Moore was 8 years of age the initial time he took food from a supermarket. Not because he desired to, because he was famished. His mother was alcohol dependent, who used money on liquor instead of food. His father wasn't around. The residence had openings in the structure and no heating in winter. Some evenings there was no sustenance at all. So Colton mastered to take bread, tinned soup, whatever he could hide under his clothing. Educators observed the marks, the unwashed clothes, the child who arrived to class, starving every day. But nobody intervened. The authorities looked away. By 12, he got his initial arrest, taking a bicycle. By 13, he was entering vacation properties on the island. Not for cash or televisions, for heat, for sustenance, for a spot where nobody would strike him. At 14, they transferred him to youth lockup. He survived 3 weeks. Then he fled. And here's where most teenagers would escape homeward or to a companion, somewhere secure. Colton escaped into the woods, the Pacific Northwest backcountry. Thick timber, icy rainfall, terrain that could end you if you didn't know what you were attempting. He was 14 years of age, and he picked the woods over society because the woods didn't harm him. The woods didn't scream, didn't consume alcohol, didn't trap him in spaces. So he mastered to endure. He created shelters from sticks and taken tarps, learned which plants wouldn't kill him, how to remain dry in endless rain, how to travel through the timber without creating paths. For months, he existed this way, a spirit on Kamado Island. The authorities knew he was somewhere out there. They hunted, established patrols. But Colton understood the island superior to they did. He'd vanish for weeks and enter a residence while the residents were at jobs, bathe, consume, rest in an actual bed, and disappear before dawn. Sometimes he'd create chalk pictures on the surfaces, tiny drawings, his method of stating, "I was here."
Article is quite intriguing.
The island people named him the Woodland Boy.
Is it about
By
the new
15,
cafe? Yes,
Colton had been existing this way for over a year. No guardians, no classes, no residents, just endurance. And that's when he discovered the airfields. Tiny landing strips spread across the island. Open hangars, aircraft positioned unprotected like they were awaiting somebody. He'd enter after nightfall, position in the cockpit, examine the control board, study the aviation guides aviators abandoned in the chairs, and he began considering. Authorities could trace vehicles. They possessed barriers, registration scanners, helicopters, but aircraft. Aircraft traversed territorial borders in hours. Aircraft didn't halt at checkpoints. And if you emergency landed in the backcountry, the location Colton understood superior to anybody. You vanish entirely. Aircraft weren't simply transport. They were liberty. You already understand what occurred next. You witnessed him entering residences to access Flight Simulator. You witnessed him take flight guides from airfields. And you witnessed him commandeer that initial aircraft in 2008. But here's what you don't understand. What was the real strategy? Where was he attempting to reach? And how did a 17-year-old believe he could continue taking aircraft without being apprehended? Washington State, 2008. 4:30 a.m., Colton Harris Moore is piloting a hijacked Cessna 182 at 5,000 feet. He's been airborne for 90 minutes. The heavens are beginning to brighten. Sunrise is approaching, and sunrise signifies somebody will spot him, so he must land immediately. The issue: he's never landed an aircraft before. In Flight Simulator, you fail and retry. Here, you fail and perish. He surveys the terrain underneath. Heavy forest, peaks, several tiny communities. Then he locates it. An abandoned landing strip, vegetation covered, broken asphalt, but level enough. He decreases power. The aircraft drops. His grip trembles on the systems. The landing strip approaches excessively rapid. He's approaching excessively fast. He draws back. The front elevates. The tires hit heavily. The aircraft jumps, strikes again, slides across damaged asphalt. He slams the brakes. The Cessna trembles, turns left into the vegetation. For a moment, it seems like it's going to overturn. Then it halts. Colton remains there gasping heavily, motor clicking as it cools. He just traveled 300 miles and touched down alive. He shuts the motor, seizes his backpack, exits. The hijacked Cessna rests tilted in the vegetation behind him, but Colton is already moving into the woods. By the time authorities discover the aircraft 6 hours afterward, he's 40 miles distant, and he's considering, here's what just occurred. He hijacked an aircraft in Washington state, piloted it to Idaho. The Washington authorities can't pursue him across territorial borders, and Idaho authorities don't yet know he's present. Vehicles create evidence. Registration numbers get monitored. People notice you at fuel stops. But aircraft allow you to vanish across boundaries in hours. And if you emergency land in the backcountry, nobody discovers you for days, potentially weeks. That's the strategy. Not elaborate, not extended, just straightforward. When the authorities get excessively near in one territory, hijack an aircraft and travel to another. Begin again. Fresh record, new territory. It's not about fleeing America. It's not about escaping to another nation. It's just about remaining one move ahead, one territory ahead, one journey ahead. And over the following 18 months, that's precisely what Colton accomplishes. He hijacks aircraft number 2, then 3, then 4. Each occasion he emergency lands. Each occasion he survives. Each occasion he disappears into the backcountry while authorities hunt the incorrect territory. Washington to Idaho. Idaho to South Dakota. South Dakota to Indiana. The FBI begins piecing the evidence. Teenage criminal. Hijacked aviation. Emergency touchdowns in isolated locations. They assign him a title. The Barefoot Bandit. By 2010, Colton Harris Moore has hijacked 4 aircraft. The FBI understands his appearance, his techniques, his approach, but they still can't apprehend him. Now pause and consider this for a moment. A teenager is hijacking airplanes, not suites, not bicycles, airplanes, and the complete FB. I can't prevent him. Insane, right? If you're captivated on this narrative, do me a service and subscribe. It maintains us going. Now what occurs next will completely blow your brain because Colton is organizing one ultimate journey. And this one will be the most crazy escape effort in contemporary history. Indiana, July 2010. Colton Harris Moore enters a tiny airport outside Indianapolis at 2 a.m. He's accomplished this 4 occasions before, but this occasion is unique. This occasion, he's not traveling to the following territory. He's traveling to the Bahamas, across the sea. Over 1,000 miles of continuous water in a single-motor aircraft he's never piloted before. Most veteran aviators wouldn't try this without thorough preparation, charting tools, and a registered flight strategy. Colton possesses none of that. What he possesses is a Cessna 400 Corvallis, a filled fuel reservoir, and a strategy so crazy it could actually succeed. He enters into the cockpit, fires the motor, moves to the strip, and lifts into the dark heavens, aiming the front southeast toward the Atlantic Sea. The journey should require about 7 hours if everything proceeds flawlessly, but nothing about this is flawless. Colton possesses no GPS, no wireless contact with aviation traffic management, no climate reports, no emergency strategy if the motor quits over the sea. He's charting by directional tool and calculated estimation, the identical method aviators traveled 100 years before. The initial 2 hours are simple, traveling over territory, illumination underneath indicating communities and roads. But then he passes the Florida shoreline and everything shifts. Underneath him, nothing but dark sea. Above him, celestial lights, no geographical markers, no orientation indicators, just the boundless Atlantic and the noise of the motor. If the motor stops immediately, he's finished. No drifting to an emergency touchdown. No destruction in the timber and surviving. Just an extended drop into dark sea. He continues traveling. 3 hours, 4 hours, 5. The fuel meter decreases constantly. He calculates the numbers in his brain. Does he possess sufficient fuel? He assumes so. Perhaps. The sun begins appearing ahead of him, illumination expanding across the sea. And then on the distance, he observes it. Territory. The Bahamas. A series of islands distributed across blue sea, like something from a vacation photo. He's genuinely going to succeed. Consider what just occurred. A 19-year-old individual with no official aviation study just piloted a hijacked aircraft across 1,000 miles of sea, independently at darkness, with nothing but a directional tool. One motor breakdown, one charting error, one fuel mistake, and he'd be at the Atlantic's depth. But he's present, gazing down at the Bahamas. Liberty. Now arrives the difficult portion. He must land. But he can't simply travel into an airfield. Border agents would detain him the instant he exited the aircraft. Immigration would notice he possesses no travel papers, no identification, no authorized method to be present. So Colton accomplishes what he constantly accomplishes. He adapts. He locates a shoreline on the eastern portion of Great Abaco Island. Extended, deserted, no individuals, no structures, just pale sand and tropical trees. Ideal. He straightens his trajectory, decreases lower. The shoreline approaches rapidly to meet him. This is going to be painful. For a moment, Colton just remains there, cardiac pounding, grip trembling, hearing ringing from the collision. Then he opens the hatch and exits. Heated tropical atmosphere strikes his features. The noise of ocean, the scent of saline sea. He's positioned on a Bahamian shoreline, 1,000 miles from the FBI, beyond American authority, beyond their capability. Colton Harris Moore just accomplished the most crazy escape in contemporary history. He's liberated. If you're considering right now that Colton ultimately escaped his troubles, you're mistaken. Because at this precise instant, everything is going to proceed catastrophically mistaken. And what occurs next will be the most terrible crisis he's ever encountered. Bahamian authorities are already advancing toward the destruction location. Island people reported it within moments of the aircraft striking the shoreline. But Colton doesn't understand that yet. He's positioned in the sand beside the destroyed Cessna, still understanding what just occurred. He traveled across the sea, charted by directional tool, emergency landed on a tropical island, and endured. Within 2 hours, Bahamian officials understand precisely who he is. The FBI has already transmitted them everything: images, identification prints, a thorough criminal analysis, and a very direct communication. This individual is threatening, and we desire him returned. But here's the issue Colton didn't consider about. The Bahamas isn't America. It's a tiny island territory where everybody understands everybody. You can't vanish into a woods for months like he accomplished in Washington. You can't hijack a vehicle and operate to another territory because there are no other territories. It's an island 70 miles extended, surrounded by sea, and the Bahamian authorities understand every street, every residence, every concealment location. Colton comprehends this excessively late. He expends the initial darkness concealing in the vegetation near the shoreline. By daybreak, he's famished, so he accomplishes what he constantly accomplishes. He enters a residence, takes sustenance, garments, a small amount of money, but the resident returns early, observes the shattered window, contacts the authorities.
Hello, police? Someone
Now
broke
the
into my
complete
house.
island
The window is
understands
shattered and
he's
the door is
present.
wide open.
Authorities
I need help
establish
right away.
barriers, inspect every vehicle, every watercraft, every aircraft departing the island. Vacationers begin sharing on digital platforms. The Barefoot Bandit is on our island. It transforms into activity for some of them. Locate the criminal. Capture an image. The trap is tightening. Colton attempts to remain ahead. He enters another residence, then another, taking sustenance, shifting spots every several hours. But this isn't the Pacific Northwest backcountry. This is a vacation island with monitoring equipment, community surveillance teams, and authorities who genuinely respond rapidly. By day 3, Colton is frantic, trapped, pursued on an island with nowhere remaining to conceal. And that's when he accomplishes what he constantly accomplishes when there's no escape route. He creates one final crazy action. At 3 a.m. on July 11, 2010, he discovers a motorboat secured at a harbor. The proprietor created a beginner error and abandoned the ignition in it. Colton doesn't pause. He hijacks the watercraft and speeds into the dark sea. One ultimate escape effort, one ultimate risk, moving for another island. Any island, just distant from the authorities, tightening in from every angle. The Bahamian authorities receive the alert
Dispatch
instantly.
to Unit 12, disturbance on Fifth
Hijack
Avenue.
watercraft.
Unit 12 copy.
They
En route.
understand
Copy
it's
Unit
him.
12, backup
They
requested.
deploy chase watercraft. Rapid ones with illumination and warnings, and officials with firearms. Colton advances the power to peak. The watercraft glides across dark sea. He can observe the authority illumination behind him, approaching nearer. He's accomplished this before. Escaped authorities, vanished, but not on the sea. Not in a watercraft he doesn't understand how to control correctly. The motor begins failing. He didn't inspect the fuel. Didn't inspect anything. Just escaped. The watercraft decelerates. The motor stutters. Stops. Colton is motionless in the sea. Actually, the authority watercraft encircle him.
Attention,
Illumination
this is the police.
surrounding.
Please disperse
Sounds
immediately.
projecting over
Failure to
speakers and
comply will
dialects
result in
he
arrest.
scarcely comprehends. Halt the watercraft. Arms raised. Do not shift. Colton positions there on the platform of a motionless motorboat in the center of Bahamian waters. Encircled. Nowhere to escape. No aircraft to hijack. No woods to conceal in. For 2 years, he's been one move ahead of everybody. FBI? Authorities across 5 territories. Homeland Security. He hijacked 5 aircraft, destroyed every one, survived every occasion, transformed into a myth. July 11th, 2010. Colton Harris Moore's pursuit is finished. He's returned to the U.S., admits culpability, and receives 6.5 years in government detention. Freed in 2016. Sometimes the unachievable is achievable if you're crazy enough to attempt.